Peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine heirs. Today is April the 6th, 2025 on the ancient moon calendar, 2026 on the ancient sun calendar. It is 5785 on the ancient Hebrew Israelite calendar. It is 10,066 on the ancient Yoruba calendar. It is millions and millions and trillions and trillions and millions and trillions of years on the ancient Moorish calendar. All rise and stand and remain standing into perpetuity and in alignment and according to the ancient Noahide laws as stated by this holy Congress. This is a sovereign living ancient Article 3, Moorish American Al-Moroccan Universal Court action. We are the sovereign living justices and Egosum Pauline Denise Ritchie. My free chosen sovereign appellation is like Tajiri Bay. All are in capitis diminution nolo, in red ink, in propria persona sui juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio heredes. We are capite et corpus juris legalis, which is our statement that we are the lawful and legal natural living head and body for our empire. All Moors are the divine, original, indigenous, sovereign, ancient, Al-Moroccan, Moorish American ascendants of the great pharaohs of Kemet and of the ancient Moabites, Canaanites, Shemites, Israelites, Cushites, and Hittites. Our full faith and trust, our allegiance, our honor, our credit, and our energy are hereby vested in ourselves, for we are the people who are the original, indigenous, natural, divine, sovereign, ancient Moroccan Empire. We're the de jure Moorish National Republic federal government. We are ancient Washington District for Columbia. We're the Universal Moorish American Consulate and the Earth-wide Article 3 Moorish American Consular Court. We are the law by our sovereign status, which is the original, indigenous, natural, divine, sovereign, ancient Article 3, living United States District for Columbia Court. And we are the sovereign fiduciaries, original creditors, executors, divine ministers, possessors, grantors, grantors, and title trustors for all causes for action. And our system is the trustee. We are peace. We are one nation, one state, one empire, and one God. We hereby recognize ourselves and accept our sovereign divine ascension. We do possess in our custody all land, all natural resources, and all commerce. We, the true living God nation, are war, and we are not at war. And we are all eternal, ancient, original sovereign rights at this time and at all points in time, nunc pro tunc. So we are not offshore. We are on the land. And the great transition is complete. Let us open the table so that we can commune together. Did you all witness and just kind of look, not witness, but just look at the great civil rights movement march that was held on April the 5th. Islam, nobility.
I did.
Islam.
Yes.
Yes, I've been watching what's been happening yesterday and today, and we know it's a done deal already, but they don't. Well, some of them know it, and then they don't know. And we know as Democrats, and they've seen what's happening. And as you said, they're doing what we tell them to do. So I heal on that. But,
yes, nobility. They listen. We already said it. We've already assigned the statuses to everyone at Earth, everyone. And they're just saying we agree and we obey. They agree. And, you know, again, it was up to us to do that. So, yes, there was a big civil rights march. And this is the part that I'm just in awe of our ancestors about. Even those who were previously, and some of them are still claiming to be Negro, Black, Colored, and African American, and all of that, they said, see, the spirit, their true center is telling them that something is different. Their true center is telling them. So they decided that they were not going to participate in this, the civil rights movement march. They said, nope, we're sitting this one out. That's their true center. That means they're starting to wake up. They still think they're Black, but something is telling them that that was not for them.
Open the call for Empress Sasha, please.
Islam. Something in their spirit said, don't get out there marching in those streets in that enactment. And they didn't. Of course, you always see one or two flitting around lost, you know. But the transition is complete. That's why we stated that the transition is complete. That's why we stated that. Because that's the proof right there. Now, let me say this about that. They do have to do as commanded. They have to do it. And see, they don't want to do it. They don't want to do it. But they don't have a choice. They don't have a choice. So their last little resort that they have is trying to be heard in our courts. But what did we just say? We mean that. We're not playing about any of it. As we continue doing what we're doing, our ancestors are working, and see, when we say something, we make a statement and we make the law out on the public record, the ancestors have given us the power of the atmosphere. So we don't have to go over there. We don't have to go over there and over there and over there and tell people, hey, you're our subjects. Hey, the ancestors have given us the power of the atmosphere. And when we say something, it reverberates throughout the whole earth, all across the land, and everyone gets in alignment with that. Everyone gets in alignment with that. So the only, that will let you know also, Moors, that we don't have to war, we don't have to fight, we don't have to pick up guns, we don't have to do any of that. Everybody is already in their proper status. All we had to do was say it. So with that being stated, can you see now that it doesn't take there to be 10,000 Moors on this call, in this Congress here, to be the Congress. It doesn't take 10,000. All it takes is for 2 or 3 of us to agree. And once we agree that, okay, we're going to govern, and this is the law, and this is how things are done, the whole earth gets in alignment with what we state. And the minute we got that capitalism piece subdued, it's been subdued the whole time. We just had to say it with a clear understanding and overstanding of what it is. So they were protesting certain things and certain persons and all of that. Can someone tell me what this word is on the screen?
That word is fell on.
It is fell on. Yes, it is. So then can anyone tell me what this word is?
That word is fell on, meaning God on.
Yes, so why do they keep mispronouncing it? And there's a reason why it's being mispronounced, because that's not really the God. That's the one previously acting as Elon Musk. That is not who, that's not the head of anything. Okay? So we turned it around backwards. The word backwards is knoll, N-O-L-E. So we did a little research to look to see what that word means backwards. Knoll means the head. And then there is another version or pronouncing. It's pronounced the same but spelled a little bit differently. It's K-N-O-L-L. And that word means, it means the top of a mountain or the crown of a hill. So a knoll is land. Okay.
Islam Empress.
Islam Empress Dictionary.
You know what? I'm actually not jumping in on that one right now. Could you please unlock for?
Yes.
Better get my knoll together and come back.
Yes, indeed, Empress.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right.
So everything frontwards and backwards. When we look at anything that's being done in the funny mirror, all we have to do is flip it. Okay? The word evil is live or live. Okay? When you turn that word around and put it right, then it's live. So we just will to point these types of things out, because this is what the civil rights piece is about, that they are marching about. Now, we stated years back, 5-6 years back, that ultimately they were going to start marching out there, and we were not going to be a part of that march piece, because we know who we are. That's why we're not out there. That whole Black Lives Matter and all of that stuff, that's not even about us. So none of that was about us in the first place. See, 1969 and 1970, 1968 and all of that, all we have to do is look at those enactments and know that civil rights is not for us. That's not for us. We gifted that and granted that to the foreigners who came here. We said you can have civil rights if you obey the law and get under that Constitution's authority.
Nope, you'll never be that important anyway.
Okay. We said you're under the authority of the Constitution. We wrote it. George Washington and Thomas Jefferson framed it. That means they put it in a frame. They didn't. They put it in a frame. And then we said, okay, now you, George Washington and Thomas Jefferson, you all make sure that everybody knows what this is for. Okay? So that's why they pay such homage to George Washington and Thomas Jefferson. That's why. Now, let me state, and I'll put this link in the chat. Oh my word. We're just watching as we continue to govern. We're watching the developments. I just put a link in the chat of a video because, see, what our ancestors are doing also is removing from the subjects, removing that sense, that false sense of entitlement, because it was not real. It was not real. That false sense of entitlement that they were enacting previously, because you can't really have that here without expressing your allegiance and loyalty to the government. Now, I know some people don't, to the flag. Let's put it that way then, to the flag, because that was the reason why foreigners came here in the first place. And again, these are not ego statements. This is the law. The law is the law, and we're not going to, the law has to be put forth. So with this particular video that we put in the chat, any of us who have been tested, we must know that we're not the only ones being tested, or that we're being tested. Everyone will have their time of testing, to include the subjects. Just watch it, because all it is, and we're not gloating or anything, but what it does is it is showing the truth of the matter regarding civil rights and the foreigners that are here. See, they have to show that they know who the law really is, okay? And the system has turned in on all of the fraud. What we're seeing is that with capitalism out of the way, those who were using capitalism to claim things such as a status, or to use fiat to get them out of things, because that's really what was going on, is that those that were acting as supervisors and bosses and business owners and politicians and lawyers and doctors, they would use fiat to get them out of things. And this is just one of so many videos that that the ancestors have been putting into our line of sight, so that we can see that everything that we have stated about status has manifested. Everything that we have stated about status, about the law, about who's who on our land, has already manifested. And it continues to manifest. It continues to manifest. And that video was just one. And again, we don't glory in anyone's suffering, but we do know what time it is. And we're not going to shrink back from that. It is what it is, because we said so. We stated that. So Has Empress Shasha made it in?
I'm here, midday, I'm
Okay,
midday.
okay, great. Islam. So, for those who will to see, because maybe you don't see it fully yet, that everything that we're stating is manifested. Everything is manifested. Our courts have already manifested. We are our courts. Our status is being affirmed and reaffirmed and reaffirmed and affirmed and affirmed by our system, and even in the funny mirror, because the funny mirror really is no more. There's only us and our subjects. That's it. And everybody else is being notified. Now, and this is what we're seeing. So Moors, just know this, that anyone attempting to appeal to the previous system, that system is telling them no. We must write everything. And the records will show what we've written. And we'll prove that once again. So now, as we're looking at changes that are happening and things that are going on the land, does anyone know where grocery stores came from and why they were even on the land? Because we talk about grocery stores quite often, because Moors want to know, well, how are we going to eat and where are we going to get our supplies and things like that. Does anyone know where grocery stores, what the true origin of grocery stores was?
I don't know the history, but I do know growing up, the greengrocers is where you would go and buy your potato, those types of things. And it was before these big box types of places where everything was there. Mm-hmm. You would go, you had the greengrocers and you had the bakers and these were all usually local people who had their little cottage industries, and that was the center of the community, really. Mm-hmm. So that's just I'm sure it's connected to that some fashion, but the big boxes, I know, if you're speaking of those big things, those are more recent, when the corporations were coming in and moving out the smaller local companies and
that's the point right there, Empress Shasha. That's the point right there that we're talking about right now.
So the corporations moving the local people, the people who lived in the places and produced and brought to their people and their communities. The corporations came in and literally just stuck them down, moved them out of the way so that they could control the capitalism, control.
That was it. It was capitalism is how they did that.
Yeah.
And see, initially, grocery stores were the things that were left over from the land. Because, see, the land is so abundant that when farmers would farm, after they gave to everyone around them or even traded with everyone around them, they took what was left and said, okay, put it there for anybody else that's coming who wants to have the leftovers, basically. Initially, they would send what was left over to the grocery stores. See, the grocery stores were, the way we did things is that we would grow our own food and we all came together. The whole town would come together on Friday, Holy Friday, and then we would have something on Saturday, and we would do things, and everybody's needs were met. Everybody brought to the table whatever they had, and it was much. There was so much left over. It was kind of like the story of Yeshua and the 5 fish and 2 loaves of bread, where it was multiplied so much so that at the end you have 12 baskets of scraps left over, and they would take the scraps and put them in the grocery store so that they wouldn't go to waste. And that's where they call themselves despots, but the people who came over here, the persons who came over here from other places during the Great Depression and all of that, they would go and get from the grocery stores because they didn't have direct access to the land. We did. And then when the records for the inventory came into play, they started capitalizing the records. Then they they saw an opportunity to capitalize the records of the land in their enactment. And the rest is where we are now. The truth of the matter is where we are now. But grocery stores were the leftovers. They didn't we didn't go to the grocery store. We just sent whatever, all of the extra stuff. It's the same way as they said it was on the plantation, where the house would eat the best and then send the rest out to the slaves. The way we did it was we farmed and we shared everything with each other, and then any foreigners who came here, they could always eat. They always had plenty. They didn't have to suffer, but they didn't want to be under our authority. So
Islam, it's sort of, that's even been taken over, that piece, by the churches and the charity organizations.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
I grew up, my father always had an allotment. So I grew up, much of our after school times, weekends was on the allotment. My dad would farm and grow, and then we would help with the harvest and pickle onions and do things like that and share with, he never sold any surplus. We ate from it, and it was shared with friends, family, neighbors, you know, that type of thing.
Yes.
And that was it. You know, that was so, and yeah, I can see just by the greengrocers what they would sell. That's what they would sell. And the baker, you know, they were all separate entities, but they were made by people, made, farmed, and so you can see where the and I looked up the word grocer, etymology. It was as a surname, as well as it means wholesale dealer, one who buys and sells in gross. So and you can see how that's been usurped over time.
Yes. And see, I like what you brought to the table there, Empress. Buying in gross means that it's before it's broken down into packages. And that's what the grocery stores did, is they would take what we gave them from the land and they would break it down into smaller pieces and package it in plastic and styrofoam and whatever and sell those little pieces to each other, not to us.
Right.
Using their monopoly fiat.
Yes.
And we said you can do it. Islam, Empress.
One of the things that had to do with capitalism that I saw was the quote unquote, when capitalism started, the government would their government would buy up a lot of the surplus so that they could destroy it and hike up prices, so they would be codependent on that groceries, because we weren't codependent on that grocery. So they created a market for them to be able to sustain a grocery store. So that was another piece that, I saw as well.
And they've never been a government. And Empress Nabi, you know me about the words. They were just
I get it.
Subjects in the office of, and they were just mimicking us, just on a smaller scale. So they just broke things down into small pieces and parts and repackaged it, and that's where marketing and advertising and all of that stuff came from. And we had so much, we never even saw a grocery store. We would maybe look and see what they were doing just to govern properly and make sure everything was good. That's why you could get a whole slab for 25 cents or $1 or $1.25, because. And then all of those photos that you see, and I used to look at them and think, where were we? But I'm explaining where we were. When you look at photos from the Great Depression, all you see in the lines is the foreigners. You don't see us in those lines during the Great Depression. You see the foreigners, and then you may see one, just like as always, just one little more wandering around, forgot who he was,
because we knew how to farm.
We had everything was already ours. It was already ours. But see, Moors, we have to keep our record keeping up so that this never that enactment, we don't need to do that again. We don't need to do it again. Because see, again, anybody that was claiming anything, if they weren't us, they had to use capitalism. Because they couldn't, they're not supposed, they were never to pretend to be the people. On paper, they never were. Because you cannot come to somebody else's land and form into a people on their land. You can't do it. That's against every law at every dimension. You actually have to be who you really are.
Islam. I have a quick question.
Yes, Empress.
So now that capitalism has been suspended, and from what you're sharing with us now, that's what they used for them, what will the subjects use now?
They will use affidavits and their subject status, and not all capital letters. They'll use the first letter capitalized and the rest of the letters lowercase. And we do too, but ours is directly connected to the all lowercase letters in red court actions. That's why we send that out with everything. So it tends to make them look similar to us, but they're not. They're different. They're not like us. Even on paper, they're not like us, because their paperwork is not going to it's not going to be attached to our or attached to a government court action besides the ones we put on the public record about them specifically. Because we have, and we're not leaving anybody out or excluding anybody. In fact, we're including everyone because we have to, or else they can't even be on the planet. And they don't have any place else to go. So We're including everyone, but everyone must be properly identified.
So then they involve documentation on the subject side. Is that what I'm hearing?
The same way that we identified them on our envelopes, you know, when we're mailing things out, where we'll say subject, colon, and then their name in blue, that is how they are to identify. That is their title. And it's not a title of nobility. It's a title. All kings, all estates, all empires have subjects. All of them. Thus, the chapter 29 of the Circle 7, magistrate and subject. Judges have subjects. And they're aware of that already.
So when we talk about, or when we speak about the way that they were set up previously and how they were receiving their food and groceries, what would that look like now that capitalism is suspended?
It's going to look a lot like it does, kind of, sort of, except that when you see the paperwork and the documents, that's going to be the difference. And see, we have to know what we have done. We have to know what capitalism looks like. So and see, as long as we know what capitalism looks like, then we know what the paperwork should look like coming through.
So I was looking at the way and what you were expressing, and then I was trying to make the transition as to what it's going to look like. So because I have the understanding of what it looks like, you know, when we, you know, send out our envelopes and they are in proper status where they should be. But as far as them receiving, especially the foreigners, because the foreigners are here, so how are they receiving their or receiving groceries? And here's the thought that just came to mind as I'm asking the question, because of how the so-called system was set up previously, where you would have the food stamps or, you know, the so-called government support and all of that. That would change in a way, and this is just what I'm seeing. So that would change in a way where the capitalism is suspended. So now everyone has to be in their proper position. Is that what I'm seeing? That's what you're saying?
Yes, because all of those quote unquote programs like SNAP and food stamps and WIC and all of that was all capitalism based. And as you can see, all you have to do is go onto YouTube and just put in a few search words about how that stuff is going away.
Islam. Sharonette, I want to be let in the meeting, please, and thank you. And hi, beautiful. How are you doing?
Islam, all is well, no business.
Beautiful.
Those benefits are going away, completely going away. And everyone has to be in their proper status. And then the places like the churches and the courts and all of that. See, we set up some programs already. Remember, and Empress Amani, I'm not sure if you were here when we were doing all of those programs. We put the programs in place already for them to use.
No, I was not here at that time. So that's probably why there's a piece is missing out of my explanations and all of that. But I can see that now. I can see how all of that is going away, and they have to come to us, and they have to be in proper status.
Yes, we already put the program. They're called general welfare program, and that's based on the Constitution for the United States. Okay. The general welfare clause in the Constitution that we wrote and put on the public record, that's where all of the programs are funded by. Probably 3 years ago, we put them in place. See, the ancestors had us to declare the end from the beginning. That's really what they had us do. It set everything up first, create the mechanisms by which our wealth is governed, create them ourselves, and then they would do the rest.
Yeah,
so the Civil Rights March that you all saw this past April the 5th, 2025, that was an affirmation that, okay, the stage is set. Everyone is in their proper place. So,
who got that large deposit?
That thing previously doing business as a Federal Reserve is, yeah.
People are pissing in their pants right now.
Yeah.
But they're losing it. They're going to go crazy.
But as you can see, the minute we got rid of, like almost to the day, a couple of things happened this week. So we suspended the capitalism, and as you can see on the screen, and I just pulled one or two of the myriad.
Wow, over 1 trillion wiped out. Mercy.
Yes.
Darn.
Yeah. And these are just ones that kind of popped up, and I'm like, okay, I'll pull this one and this one. There was so much to choose from.
1 trillion.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, people must be having nightmares now. People, and then the bloodbath may continue Monday in the week. You never know.
It's funny you should use that term bloodbath, because that was the term that they kept using, but that's biblical also. That the blood would run up to the bridle of the horse in the street.
Yeah.
Well, that is actually what's happening. Because of the decapitation. Because of the decapitation of the capitalists.
That's right.
So yes, heads have rolled.
Are rolling.
Yes.
It's not over, though. It's not over yet. It's just beginning.
It's just beginning.
Yep.
And that is why we're doing all that we're doing, is so that we stay away from any of that stuff. We don't have to go through any of that. And as the wipe out is happening there, the shalom, or the recovery of all that belongs to us, is happening with us. The actor previously acting as Trump held up a gold citizenship card, quote unquote.
Oh yes, $5 million.
Yes, a $5 million gold citizenship card. And they asked him, they said, well, who is that for, and who's going to buy it? Who's going to buy the first one? And he said he was buying the first one. Because he knows that status is and gold is on the table now. So everything that we've stated, everything that we put on the public record, it must. That's not optional for it to manifest. So, our ancestors know what they're doing through us. And Justice Willie, you asked a question that has just been going through my mind all week. You asked, about my level of confidence in what we're doing. This is why, because every time, as soon as we speak the word, it manifests. I saw this one happen in the manifestation.
Wow.
And notice the banner on there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And what I also noticed is that, and I know that this is what it's for. What did you say, nobility?
The flag, I just say, I see it, I see it loud and clear.
Yeah, yeah. And notice he's wearing a red tie and a red hat, and the tie is.
Yep.
And then another thing that I noticed about this photo is that you have two Marines, and they're dressed completely differently from each other. That's a hint.
Tell me what's going on there.
They're not dressed like each other. That means that they are representing two different militaries.
Oh.
Two different militaries.
Bullshit.
And that is why they're saying what they're saying about, serious failure and all of that. Because our things, they can't use our things. If it belongs to us, it's ours. You see? And more, you must know this, that for any of you, and we've been through this too, where things like automobiles start to break down out of nowhere and things like that, it's because it's the change time. It's the transition time. So there has to be a break in whatever it is that we're using and all of that. There had to be a break in it. A break. Not a break, but a pause in it. So we are noticing that Islam nobility.
Can you open the meeting for Sharif, for Justice Sharif?
Sure.
Islam.
Yes. So after a while, you'll see again. This is things grinding to a halt, and then when it starts back up again, it's in the favor of the Moors. But everything has to grind to a halt. So what it's doing is grinding to a halt in stages and phases. Everything is in stages and phases. A great portion of that has already happened and is done. It between 2020 and 2024, the majority of the stopping to start things back up in our favor happened. So we're past that part. And so, now they're saying something about a financial pathway to citizenship. He's letting everyone know over there, he's letting the subjects know that it's about the money, that the money has changed. That's why he held up a gold citizenship card, because that's just a hint to them that the money system has changed. We knew it was changed because we're the ones who changed it. Everything that we stated must manifest. We are the law, we are the government, we are the people, and we are the most ancient bloodline, birthright, inheritance, and land. Okay? So let me say something about things like, let me say something about even things like, and I'll just say this because it was on our hearts to talk about anyway, is things like phone service and things of that nature. Something is telling us that, and I can't say something, we're seeing where there is an opportunity to go back to landlines. That would be the first, the jump off point, so to speak, for a lot of other amazing communication. Because as we all know, even cellular phones have landline, they use landlines to even get that stuff going. It's called wireless, but it's not really wireless. There are transistors.
Doesn't matter. You still don't have either.
There are transistors and givers and receivers of the signal. One is is buried, and the other is up in the sky.
And you're unable to get it.
So without the land infrastructure, even cell phones won't work. You have to have the land infrastructure there. So I know that, and again, cellular and wireless and all of that, that's some old technology, but we can still use it. Islam nobility.
They are saying that they're getting rid of cell phones soon, and it will be replaced by chips in your brain or in your hand or foot or body.
So you're going to be a cult member then?
None of that will be applicable to us, because again, anything they say is, they're not talking to us, they're talking to each other.
That's because you're self.
So with them talking to each other about that stuff, see, we don't need a chip in our brain. We know what each other is thinking. We can communicate telepathically at any moment, at our will. We can do that. We do it all the time. So, but if we chose to use apparatus, we could do that too. It's up to us how we will to govern and use things. Because any of that technology, we created that technology anyway. So we're just looking at what the ancestors are showing us about accessing. For example, some of our brothers and sisters have found out that if you melt plastic to a certain degree, to a certain temperature, that it turns back into gas that you can put in any vehicle and drive it. Well, you know, we know that there are brothers and sisters that are going around now showing how they melted some plastic and came up with gas, from natural gas from the plastics, and then they just put it straight into any vehicle that uses gas, and it will work. Lawnmowers, cars. So it's that simple. Melt some plastic, and you'll to a high temperature degree, and it turns back into petroleum. It's things like that. And then also, there are, yes, plastic is oil based. That's why they tell you not to put it in the microwave. They tell you not to put plastics in the microwave. That's why, because they use microwaves to break it back down into petroleum. That's the technology. So, and then also we have seen many conveyances that don't, like the words on the conveyances is not in all capital letters. That's important. That our conveyances are not a capitalized automobile. So all of the ones up to, I think, the 1930s, you know, when they started issuing fake fiat in the 1930s, but all the automobiles before that were, they had words on them that were not in all capital letters. It's those things that actually matter.
Well, you lack a conveyance, so ha 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 ha. You lack a conveyance, bitch.
So all we have to do is just keep doing what we're doing. Now, those conveyances that have the letters on them properly written, they still exist and they still work. It's that simple. They still exist everywhere. They're everywhere. People have had them stored up for us since the 1930s. They still work perfectly because the technology was very simple then to run them. So some of them run on steam and some of them run on petroleum. You know, so it's just a matter of, and then we have the right kind of money to buy them. We have now the right kind of money to buy them. Some of them, the majority of them, have gold and silver parts because that kept the heat down in the running of it, in the mechanics of those types of conveyances. Very classy conveyances, very classy and very beautiful. And all we have to do is take the basics that we know about technology and build new ones. And there are Moors already building conveyances, okay? Already, so we don't have to reinvent the wheel with any of this. Our responsibility is to make it so that none of that stuff is capitalized by foreigners. So what we have done is the ancestors have given us, and we'll talk about it later because it's not important right now. It's called capitalism.
I have enough fiat to buy one tomorrow if I want.
It's called Capital Islam or Capitalist Shalom. Capital Islam or Capitalist Shalom. And that is capitalism done, created by us and done by us, but we don't need that right now. We don't need it at all, really. But in order to properly rebut, we have stated that exists, but we keep that seated. We don't stand with that. We don't stand with it. We just keep it back there so that we know that everything that we do can't be capitalized by anyone but us. So that's what the purpose of rebuttal is that they couldn't capitalize anyway, because even the capitalism that was previously enacted still didn't apply to us. That's how come we're able to walk away from it very quickly. Because it wasn't talking about us anyway. Islam, Justice.
Can you please unlock the meeting?
Yes.
Thank you.
So, but for right now, all capitalism is suspended, and we're going to keep it that way. We're going to keep it that way because things happened so quickly this past week when we put that law on the public record. Everything that we've been waiting, kind of not waiting to see, but that we've been kind of just looking at, all that stuff manifested in 1 week, one strong rather. So with that being stated, we know that with capitalism being done away with and suspended, let us prove to you further that our word is the law. The ancestors brought something to our attention called warn, W-A-R-N. If someone issues a warning, it means that they see something coming that is worthy of announcing and pronouncing. So the Worker Adjustment and Retraining Notification Act of 1988 was done in anticipation of what we're doing now. Okay. What it is that the capitalized corporations, now remember, our resources are not going anywhere because that's our stuff. It's the fake fraudulent contracts that are gone. So Worker Adjustment and Retraining Notification Act of 1988 is a 60-day notification of all places laying off and closing. So what you would do is you would Google the WARN Act and then the name of the corporate state that you're looking at the information. And again, this is just something that proves what we've already done. So for example, here, we'll just show it here on the screen. For example, Islam nobility.
I don't know if you follow Canadian news, but did you know that the oldest company that started the corporation, Canada, is Hudson Bay? They are liquidating right now.
Yes, we put that on the record that Hudson Bay had to liquidate. We spoke that specifically.
Awesome.
Yeah. Hudson Bay and also the Puget Sound Agricultural Company, those two are mentioned specifically in the public laws, those two specifically. And we've taken complete control over those words. So, and we put that on the public record probably about 3 or 4 years ago. Our sea salt company, our ocean water minerals company, is a sister company of Hudson Bay Company, but we spell Hudson Bay B-E-Y instead of B-A-Y.
Oh, yeah.
Which is the original spelling of it.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah. And
wow.
So when people...
I like how you can connect the dots. I like how you connecting the dots with the Elon and the Hudson and the Bay. Wow.
Yeah.
Very insightful.
It's all in the spelling. It's all in the words, the spells. That's why they're called spells, because who cast those spells and who is it that's misspelling things? So now most of you know that the corpses that were doing business as Bill Gates and Microsoft and all of that, that was one of the first liens that we did, that we placed on the public record. So we're seeing now that the corpse part is, particularly during quote unquote COVID, took that time to just start booting people and enacting the firings and layoffs and closures and all of that. Permanent, as you can see here on the screen. Most of this took place in the enactment in 2023, thousands here. See, our lien took a while to, and then we see some that are older that they never talked about. However, the majority happened during this time period, 2023, thousands, right? So does that mean that the resources go anywhere? No, they're with the resources are with us. It's the paperwork and the contracts, the fraudulent contracts, the capitalized contracts that are going away. So now you here, let's pull up J.P. Morgan. There's one here, a permanent closure with 45. That happened in 2009, and nobody said a word. But, you know, I think sometimes they backdate the records too, but it doesn't matter because, again, we know that everyone knew that this was coming. Everyone knew that this was coming. Let's see, Bank of America. Closures and layoffs and things started back after the 2005, 2006 time frame. But no one's going to say anything about this stuff. We actually have to put it on the public record, make the statements, and then the evidence presents itself that it's already been happening in anticipation of us waking up. Let me see. G4S Government Solutions at Bangor and Silverdale. A closure in 2014. So we'll put this link in the chat, and all you have to do is look up places at your territory. So whatever the state is, you put Warren and then the state, and it will show you some of the things that are being shut down. Okay. There are restaurants and things of that nature. Let me see. And again, this is the corporate portion. This is not the uncapitalized things. I know I saw some of that on there also. Amazon, 2023, 2022, 2024, you know, layoffs, closures, thousands here. Now, what does this mean? What this means is that anybody who was working under capitalism, under the capitalism system, is affected. That's what that means. They are affected by the liens that we've done, the levies, the bonds. That is what this is all about. Liens, levies, and bonds. So they're being affected by it, yes. However, our ancestors, I trust them. We know that that people will have enough, but persons may go hungry. So they have to stop being a person and get into people or individual status, or declare the nationality in the case of the Moors. I mean, if you had said something about, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, if you had said, Amazon's going to be closing, Microsoft's going to be closing, nobody would have believed you in 2019. If you had said it in 2019, no one would have believed you. Liens, levies, and bonds. And this is just, again, our territory here. That's not other territories. We could look up other territories as well, and you will see the same thing. Closures, layoffs, and things like that. It was the corpses that we willed to have off of our land. I think that's Khalifa territory. Google is that, Khalifa. It was the corpses, and that's what this is about. So WARN, the Warren. Now, I have some questions for this Congress so that we can begin to really think about that whole capitalism piece and what we've really done, because this is important. So the moment we said no more capitalism, Liberation Day was proclaimed out of nowhere, really. But they kind of knew what we were going to do anyway, because we talk about what we're going to do. So April the 2nd, 2025 was named Liberation Day by us first on Sunday when we did away with capitalism. That's liberation for those who are trapped, who thought they were trapped in there until we woke up. What does the end of capitalism look like for you personally? Because these are some things to think about. What does that look like for you? And anyone who wills to speak about what the end of capitalism for you specifically, what does that look like for you? And then we'll show you what it looks like for us.
Islam, Empress.
Islam nobility.
Time to read, time to reflect, time to read the many books I know my Moorish brothers and sisters are going to write, have written. I have the opportunity to just sit back and enjoy that.
Yes.
That much is great to me.
Yes.
So,
indeed, nobility. Beautiful, beautifully stated. What does no debt look like? And what does being out of the debt system look like?
Islam.
Islam, Empress.
All of this, no capitalism, what that looks like to me is freedom, liberty, and as stated, debt, free from debt, meaning
means get a job, bitches, get a fucking job.
Go ahead, Empress.
They, meaning the previous enactment, cannot and no longer send me anything with capitals in it, thinking that I owe them anything. I won't receive that. So that's what I mean by the liberty, the freedom. Now we can live.
Yes.
Yes. Islam.
Islam. Thank you for that, Empress. In our previous Congress, Justice Jonah Bey asked about getting, this is what he asked about, and Justice Jonas Bey, we honor you for the work that you're doing. He asked about getting into the fraudulent debt system to change some records. That's what he was asking about in our Congress that we had just previous to this one. We responded that you must put the proper records on the public record by Article 3 court action affidavit, then proper notification that all capitalism is suspended. Okay? So the system knows that we've been doing these things, but we will to just show you what that looks like so that we can discuss it, because when we know what it looks like, we then know what to do next. So if you all will remember, about a year ago maybe, or a little bit more, we showed how we were giving proper notification to the subjects in the Office of Credit Reporting Agencies, that we had written our entire report, because we're supposed to be the ones reporting that, not anyone else, because we're the creditors. And we notified properly who we really are and all of that. And I will say this, that once we did that, about maybe a week later, we received, there were some emails that came. We didn't even open them. The emails that came, we didn't open them because we knew they were spells trying to bait us into going back and forth. And we were not willing to go back and forth because our court had already spoken. And so this past 7-day cycle, we received the following. And again, we know we're not anybody's all caps but our own. Our all caps belongs to us. It doesn't, and it's not us, it's a tool. But this is what we received. It says, "Dear Pauline D. Moore, we have received your request concerning inaccurate information on your Equifax credit file." Now, know that we did not send any requests or anything like that. We sent to our Equifax, not any foreign one. We sent to our Equifax what we know to be on our credit. What we say is on our credit report. We had some liens that we put on there, some awards that had been awarded to us, a few $100 million justice verdicts that were granted to us in our own favor by our own courts and everything. So in order to, so this is what came back just in this past 7-day cycle. It says, "We were unable to locate a credit file in our database with the identification information you provided. In order to further assist you, we will need additional documents to verify your identification." Now, we did this demonstration a year or so ago. Okay. And then the ancestors said, "Okay, you did that demonstration. Don't do anything else with it. Let us show you some more things." And that's when they began showing us how to dismantle the capitalism piece, because that's what they were using. And so when we dismantled that properly, meaning we're all in agreement about it, then this manifested. It didn't have any seals or stamps or signatures or anything on it. None whatsoever, because we know what we sent it with the true Equifax and TransUnion and the other credit report. We restated the logos and things so they can't use even fake logos anymore. And so this was sent. Some things that I noticed about it: first and foremost, they cannot speak about who we are. We must self-identify. And we did that by court action stating that we're the sovereigns. Not only are we the sovereigns, we're Equifax and TransUnion, and the third one that we spoke about, it starts with an E, I think, too. And we notified all 3 offices of ours of what our status is and who we are. And so now what is being asked, the system is saying, okay, we did as you commanded. You're the sovereign. We don't have anything on you at all, on your person. Because, see, my person is my person, not theirs. And theirs cannot speak when we speak for our person. So now we can send any of these things. We can create and send any of these things that they're saying, but we have to restate everything again. So if you were bound by bad credit in the previous enactment, it is in your best interest to declare your nationality and then go ahead and start putting the documents on the public record and notifying the subjects in the office of. Because we know that that's where a lot of the fraud took place also, that held us back in the previous era. See, we can't be mad at them. We have to do the work. So now anything that appears in a system talking about a credit report, I really have no need for a credit report simply because we prepay for everything anyway. However, systems-wise, whatever I will that the system say, it's going to say it. It's going to say that we have, you know, and we'll just use a random number of nine $100 million liens that have been awarded to us in our favor. We could say that because it's the truth. Our courts awarded them to us, and we said, okay, person Pauline Denise Ritchie, the person, this is for you. See, we're the ones who grant and give things to ourselves, to our person. And so then I started looking at, okay, please, they say, please provide your complete name, current and former addresses, social security number, and date of birth. Well, we know we restated all of that. And then it says, we ask that you please send us a copy of 2 different items, one from each of the 2 categories listed below. One item will verify your identity, which is not true. It's going to verify a person, not a people. That's where capitalism was off. And the other will verify your current address. And see, they want you to claim a 2-letter state. We would never do that. But when we look at this, we say, okay, we can use our system, so we would only speak to our system. I didn't have to call anybody for this to happen because no one can do this but us. So why would I even bother picking up a phone? No need. Send the documentation and keep moving. And see, because I knew that I sent the court actions and sent the word, I had nothing else to say because the system has its orders, has her orders. The system has her orders. The system knows what to do. And that's why we restated the Equifax and TransUnion letterhead and everything, restated it and we put the truth. It was a perfect credit score with millions and millions and trillions and billions in resources. And I just stopped at 100 million for each one so that my records, so I could keep my records, you know, good and accurate, you know. See, nothing can stop us or hold us back when we're willing to just do the work, be peaceful. Don't talk to them because we don't have to talk to anybody pretending to be Equifax and TransUnion because that's not who that is. So where Justice Jonah Bay was speaking last week and asking, how do he said he needed access to their system. We told him last week, and we'll tell you again today, the way that you get any system to say what it's supposed to say is that you notify properly by court action what the court has said about you and your person. That can only come from you. That's why it's called a credit report. That means that the report tells everyone where you are and who you are and any other information you will to give. There in credit reports, there's also a place in the reporting mechanism where you can just put notes. Well, we just put the court action language in there and stated who we are and all of that, and that this is being done by court action. And it worked like a charm. We can also look at how persons are identified by looking at Category 1 and Category 2. See, they're asking for driver's license, rental lease agreement or house deed, pay stub with an address, a utility bill with current service address. See, this right here, 911 SW314 PL in all capital letters, that doesn't have anything to do with me. WA, I don't know where that is. That's not a place. 98023 minus sign 4523, not a place. So even if we chose to, because we already have our driver's license that we created, it is a Washington driver's license and it's 100% valid. We have traveled on it and everything. Even if we were to send that and our state security card, our security number card that we created and restated, we could send those two things plus our fiduciary affidavit, because we're going to do everything by court action. And then we could send that and get things started and send it to the place where we spell everything out. Then we would be speaking to our own system. See? Or we could just put that on the public record and state that we're establishing our credit, our creditor status right now on the public record by these documents. So now we know what documents to use, which would be a valid driver's license and a valid state security card, to establish that, yes, we have perfect credit, and then go about doing things if we chose to do that. We don't have to use our credit. We can establish the credit and then pay it off at the end of the month using our money system. Because fiat doesn't have anything to do with what we're doing. We do have evidence of collateral. We have a $10 million check, a substitute check that we could use as well. But we're taking our time and just letting the Spirit lead us on how to do things. Because however we say it's to be done, that's what the system is going to honor. Is what we say about, okay, this is how you accomplish things and get things done.
Islam
nobility.
So right, that back to that check that you said the bank had issued you, the 10 million.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't there a way to convert it into lawful money using the UCC code?
It started out as lawful money because I created the check that created the instrument.
Mm-hmm.
So it's already lawful money. The system, see, all the system did was what systems do. It just recorded it and then sent it back.
Mm-hmm.
That's all.
So how do you get to utilize it is what I'm getting at.
Any way I choose. Whatever we say on the public record, that's what the system is going to honor. So if I willed to go and this is how we've been led, because we've been thinking about it and saying, you know, what's the best way to move the empire forward with what we have. Mm-hmm. The ancestors have stated that our basic infrastructure is most important right now. Our basic infrastructure. What is that? Mm-hmm. That is our erudition temples, getting it so that anyone who wills to declare their nationality, we can do what we're doing right now, because we're already doing the work. Mm-hmm. So we can show that, yes, we know what to do responsibly with these resources because we're already doing it. Mm-hmm. And so we would just expand what we're currently doing. That's all.
Okay, so you're saying that you are the one who writes it and then they give that to you.
Yes, but Justice Willie, we're on the other side of the ledger.
Right.
We're on the creditor side of the ledger.
Oh.
Had we tried to do this in the previous era, there would be jail bars and things of that nature.
Yeah.
But now we're on the other side of the ledger, so we can, we can write it. I could have written it for $1 trillion or 100 million, as long as I know what to do with it, and I do. We know what to do with it. We're just proceeding as we're led by the Spirit.
So do you see each person or each man or woman, I should say, getting something like that if they want to do that?
If they're bold enough to do it. Okay. Are you bold enough to write a $10 million check or $100 million check?
I don't even read. There's a particular vehicle that I'm dreaming of. I just need like 200,000 and I'm okay. Just for the vehicle.
That's not infrastructure. That's not. How is that going to expand the empire?
But we only pass this way but once, so we have to fill our heart's desire as much as possible.
On the contrary, you've been here before. You just don't remember.
Okay.
So, for us, our goal is expansion of the empire. So basic infrastructure is the best way to do that. Basic infrastructure is having a building or a place with all the office, the ministry machinery to assist as many people as possible in declaring who they are, whether they be subjects or Moors. We can help them all.
It's interesting that you say that, because I was having a conversation with two of my Empress sisters today, and I was mentioning that how we need a central hub for things like that. A central point where it's come like headquarters, because let's face it, any system and structure that grows has to usually have bases from which they operate, and it's organization, it's structures and systems that run the world. And once you have a structure and system that runs the world that caters to, and I'm surprised that you say that. So we're not being selfish. We're not just catering for Moors. You say Moors or anyone. That's excellent, because you're all inclusive, right?
The whole earth. We govern the whole earth. That is our fate.
Yeah, so we're offering hope, and that's beautiful. And I love that you said that, because we don't want people to think that we're anti anyone. We're here to just govern and serve and do our best to be the best we can and to help humanity in whatever we can, right? And I use that word humanity connotatively, as they would say.
Everyone knows that we're the best at everything we do. Everyone already knows that. So Justice Willie, if I may expand your thinking about that headquarters piece. So, and that central hub piece. The central hub is Earth. That's the central hub. So the headquarters is every one of us, no matter where we are, working together. That's the headquarters. And I can't say headquarters, it's the head office. The head. The head. That's the head. The head for the body.
Yeah.
So we already have a central hub. It's Earth. Because, believe it or not, we govern the whole universe. The sun, the moon, and the stars do as we command. The planets do as we command. So our job, our responsibility, rather, is to govern all, period. And the way we do that is Earth is the head place, the post whereby all of that happens.
Mm-hmm.
We're already the head of everything. So with us working together, and this is why that's so important, with us working together and everyone on the same page doing the same things, there's nothing at our estate that's withheld from us. Nothing is withheld from us because we agree. See, that's what the preachers were doing. The preachers got to be very powerful in their enactment because they had matriarchs sitting there under their spell. But what they were doing was feeding the people their vision, and then having the people agree with their vision. So the people, the matriarchs, were living in someone else's vision. And so all we did was, because see, they know the matriarchs are very powerful. Of course, you all are too. So they had us there together, agreeing with their vision. And their vision is never going to put us first. Our vision puts us first. So when we all agree together that we are all one, then of course everything is going to work out exactly the way we state that it's supposed to work out. The system, if we say that everyone's credit report is going to say this, this, and this, all we have to do is put it on the public record and keep moving, keep building. And it might be a year from now before we see evidence of that, because it's a big system. It's earth-wide and worldwide. So our ancestors, look how long it took for us to get to this point, like 7 years, of us just put the law on the record and keep going. Vote on it, agree on it. What is the process? Okay, that's the process. We all agree. Let's put it on the record and keep moving, keep moving, keep moving. Put it on the record, keep moving. Put it on the record, keep moving. And then every now and then we look up from the work and we see that everything is moving the way it should. And it doesn't even matter who or where they are at earth, they're going to do exactly as we command, because it's always been about us. It's never been about anyone else. And all we have to do is keep doing what we're doing. This is why I'm so grateful to our great Chief Tajiri Bey. We love him so much with all of our heart, because he said, get the courts going.
I hope you don't love him more than me, though.
Justice Willie, I think he might have you by just a smidge. Just a smidge. He got you by like a handful.
Because I'm a very jealous God,
So is he. Islam, just by a smidge, though.
Okay.
So, all we have to do is talk about it, do our research. Each one do their research, and then come back together and agree. And the system is just waiting for us to say this is what should be said or done. So we have the proof that, systems do what we tell them to do, that the system belongs to us. It's always been our system. Justice Harold, you put something in the chat. Islam, that's been my aid. System, order, structure assisted me many times. That's a good one, Nobility. System, order, and structure. We are God.
Yes, it's helped me a lot. You have order. Well, you have, if you look at building a building, got bricks to build a structure, whatever the structure is, whether it's a chimney, whatever type of house. So the system, how it's ordered, how things are ordered, is the system that builds the structure.
Yes.
So I use that to get through a lot of, being on my own.
Yes.
So I use that a lot.
That is some wise thinking. Our prophet said if he could just get us to think, we'll free ourselves. Boom, there it is, Justice Harold. You did it. Congratulations. That's it. System, order, structure. Beautiful. That's powerful. Because see, even our temples work that way. System, order, structure. Our temples work that way. So why wouldn't everything else work that way? It would. It works that way.
Islam, anytime you're working on something or you're building something, it's best to set things up that way.
Yes.
More like a plan.
Yes.
And that you avoid a lot of mistakes, by doing that.
Yes.
I use it a lot. I had to learn though, but yeah, I use it a lot. Islam.
See, Justice Harold and Morris, our ancestors, all they will is that through us, we put the system on the public record, and then they will say, okay, let's test that system and see how it works. We're the ones doing all the testing. Our documentation and the things that we're doing, and when we are sure about our process, it manifests, and that happens usually pretty quickly. Pretty quickly. Think about it. We've been doing this only 7 years, and we've changed everything. And the systems and the things that we see are affirming that we changed everything. The whole earth shuts down at our word, and then it starts back up again at our word. That's what quote unquote COVID was all about. It was a crown situation.
It is
what it is. It is what it is. We're not going to even run from that. That's the way it's supposed to be. When we start leaning and levying and bonding everything, that's what we started doing in 2018, is leaning. Just lean. Lean by affidavit, lean by court action, and then perfect the process. So, of course, 2 years later, everything was like, y'all, we got to shut down. The Moors are leaning everything. And then the things that stayed open and available are things that we use. And it was only a matter of time. It was only a matter of time. And now, even today, those things that you see for yourself, and that's the beauty of what we're doing. That's the difference between us and preachers, is that preachers had you go through them, because then they could shape whatever it is that you see so that it fits their narrative. Whereas with what we're doing, each and every one of us is sovereign. So your vision for you can manifest and is manifested even while we're working together. That's the beauty of this that I love so much, is that nobody's vision for their life has to be put on hold in lieu of someone else or some leader guy or gal. You lead yourself. And then we all lead ourselves together. That's what God, this is the counsel for the gods that's mentioned in the Biblios. The Bible talks about the counsel for the gods, and the word gods is plural in the Biblios, because even the Biblios knew who we are. It is what it is. Even the Biblios knew. I am in sound. The sound is coming from within me. We affirm. So as we're looking at how to do things. As we're looking at how to do things, even things like this have answers in it. We just have to know not to use their things, but to create our own, when we're looking at these types of things. Around the same time that I did this demonstration about a year ago, I also did, I created my own quote unquote credit cards for Target and for Chase, I believe, and I put $100 million in there. And I put $100 million on each card, and then I notified the subjects in the office of. And the documentation that we got back, it was just like this. It said it was similar to this. What it said was that we have not broken. It said you have not broken any laws. And it said, what else did it say?
It didn't work.
What did it say? It said, I received 3 of them at that time: Target, JP Morgan Chase card, and one other card I think I did, and put $100 million on each one. I'll have to look in my wallet and see. But not once did anyone try to rebut what I did. Not once did they say, oh, that's fraud because that's our, trademark and whatever. No, none of that. None of that. So there's no one that's going to stop us from doing what we're doing when we know that it's coming from our court and that we are in control of all letters, numbers, sounds, signs, sigils, flags, everything. So I did a little, some more study, and I came across this Old English definition. Now, we use Ancient English, and we don't spell English that way. We spell it differently from that. We spell it, let's see, let's put that in. That's how we spell Ancient English. But I looked here and I saw Old English, the West Germanic Low German language of the Anglo-Saxons, the language spoken in England from the 5th century AD until shortly after the Norman conquest, Anglo-Saxon. And number 2 is why I brought this up. A style. Islam nobility.
Can you let in Kamisha, Tamara, Aid, and L, please?
Yes. Number 2, it says a style of black letter. A style of black letter. This definition is a huge, gigantic clue. It's a huge clue. Just one moment. Nobility, Justice Akil, we heard you. Is that far enough, Justice Akil? And this is page 2 of that thing, and as you can see, there's no signature or anything on here because it's really not a real document, even though it was pretending to be a real document. I was also looking here, before we go back to what we were just talking about, at the word legible, and illegible documents that contain highlights may cause a delay in processing, etc. Illegible. Empress Rosalind, that is such a good, she says, if they said you haven't broken any laws, then y'all both can't be right. Somebody is breaking some law. They're doing capitalism. They were doing capitalism, and that's what we were rebutting. But they were just letting us know that they can't even enact prosecuting. They cannot enact prosecuting. They can't enact this is a trademark violation. They can't do any of that. They were not willing to do any of that, and they shouldn't be willing to do it because of what we did and the way we. So, Justice Rosalind, that's very true. That's very true.
The same old unfulfilled promises as 10.
When we do something by court action, they have to actually tell the truth. And then, of course, anything they say can be used against them in the court of law. Already done. So this type of a response of them removing any records or them saying, hey, we don't recognize this Pauline D. Moore. We need you to help to verify that that's a corpse. Well, no, I'm not going to do that. I've already put the court action on the record. So as you're doing these types of things, again, we know that in a debt-based system, in a debt-based system, they would need a corpse as a debtor transmitting utility. And that's what they were looking for, is a way to transfer debt to us. But see, they can't transfer debt to us if we don't give them a corpse to do so. They can't transfer credit because they're not the creditor. See? Any time you will to change a quote-unquote system, anytime you will to do it, it has to be done by court action. To the black letter. The fact that the definition mentions the style of black letter tells us that the color matters. But see, black in this definition is actually a legal status for the letters because they were written by blacks. Old English is a hypothesis. It was a previous hypothecation enacted pretending to be ancient English. Okay. The color matters because the color tells you the nature of the writing. And we're not colored people. We're white. Those who love foreign person will lose it. Those who care nothing for a foreign person, and when I say a foreign person, we're talking to all caps names, will keep her life being Lord forever. So this is the scripture. The scripture is John, the 12th chapter, verse 25. It says, he that loves his life will lose it, and he who lays down his life will recover it, or have his life, or will live and prosper. Those who love the foreign person will lose. So if you're trying to save the all caps, don't do it. You will to suspend that thing by court action. Okay. And those who care nothing for foreign persons will keep her life being Lord forever and enjoy her life forever, and will prosper and be in perfect health and peace forever, with healing, life, purpose among the people forever as intended by law. Okay. So, fiction. I found this to be fascinating. Fiction is from the word finger in Latin. It's a Latin word. Finger. Finger, like a digit on your hand. Empress Shasha called it a digit. Finger. To form, to mold, to devise. The act of feigning, inventing, or imagining, as by the mere fiction of the mind. That which is feigned, invented, or imagined. Any literary work portraying imaginary characters and events as a novel, a play, etc., such works collectively. Fiction, in law, an assumption made of what is not literally true for the purpose of passing more rapidly over those parts of the subject which are not disputed and arriving at the points really at issue. What this is saying, what number 4 is saying is, when you use a fiction, particularly a foreign one not created by you, you're passing over the true identity really quickly and getting straight to subject matter. You're agreeing to be subject. You're agreeing to talk about subject matter and not about identity first, which is an incompetent court action. And it can't even be called a court action. It's an incompetent move. To skip over identity and go straight to the subject matter. We're not doing that. We will never skip over identity and go straight to subject matter. The synonym for fiction is fabrication, falsehood, invention, untruth, figment, or story. Some of those words mean that you, for example, if you invent something, that's not a bad thing. Inventing something is a good thing. We call it coining. So if you coin a term or you coin a word, that means you invented the word, you created it. That's not a bad thing. Fiction is opposed to what is real. It may or may not be intended to deceive. A fabrication is a fiction wrought up for the purpose of deceiving. So there's a difference between a fiction and a fabrication. But it says in the synonym portion, it says they're the same. A falsehood requires less invention, being merely a false statement. So they're trying to parse apart, and I say parse because people talk about parse syntax as a means of correcting things, when in reality, if your status is not correct, parse syntax will not help you. It will not. So, fictional, relating to or characteristic of fiction, fictitious, imaginary, fictionalized. So there's other ways, but here the word fictitious, from the word finger, to form, to mold, or devise. Number 2 says counterfeit, false, not genuine. And if you are fictive, you are able to produce fiction. Fictive, able to produce fiction. Imaginary. So we can create at any time, and there's a difference between fiction and creation. Okay. So let's take a quick look really quickly at the word create. This is Black's Law, 4th edition. Let's take a quick look at the word create. Just a moment. Let's get there pretty quickly. Just a moment. Let's get to that word. Create. If it's in here. Let's see. If it's in here, it would be right in here somewhere. Create. To bring into being, to cause to exist, to produce, as to create a trust in lands, to create a corporation, to create a charter or a corporation is to make one which never existed before, while to renew one is to give vitality to one which has been forfeited or has expired. And to extend one is to give an existing charter more time than originally limited. So that's the difference between creating and creation and fiction or invention. To bring into being. To create is to manifest. Are there any thoughts on this? The only thing that I can see here that would be even a little bit contrary is that it's an assumption. And we don't have to assume anything. So now really quickly, we have our alphabetia. In ancient English, the alphabetia. We pronounce it that way just because the word ya is on the end. So we just say aya, bia, cia, dia, ia, effa, gia, h'a, aya, jaya, kaya, ella, m-n-o, pia, q, r, s, t, u, via, w, x, y, z. Again, we're talking about capitalism and the suspension thereof, and that we have full authority over all letters, all numbers, all words, and all of that. So all of our alphabet, if you say it really quickly, it sounds like what we've been using. However, if you slow it down, it's going to sound like this. Okay? So everyone can speak this, everyone can know this, that this is the instatement of our alphabetia in ancient English and our number system. We will to correct the record on our alphabetia so that we know that there's a difference. Now, we did put the infinity symbol after each letter and after each number, because when we say things, when we spell things and state them, it is forever. So it cannot be altered or changed by anyone but us. Okay, so again, this is another rebuttal to any fake capitalism or quote unquote letters, patent, and all of that, we have our own alphabet and our own numbering system. We always have. Now, we were going to speak briefly about the 1763 Royal Proclamation. I will state that Empress Verdiashi Washita notified the foreign actors that removal for all foreign actors from the land west of the Appalachian Mountains was the law. She actually notified, if you've read her book, she notified the actors previously acting as Bush, as quote-unquote President Bush, that they were to evacuate all foreigner actors from the land, particularly the land that had to do with the Louisiana Purchase, because the Louisiana Purchase and this proclamation right here go together. They go together because the Louisiana Purchase, it spoke of everything, quote unquote, west of the Appalachian Mountains. So Empress Verdiashi Washita, whom we honor and whom we love, has she gave notice, and so that proclamation, we are going to continue to look at it and see for sure who, how we will to proceed. Are there any questions about the proclamation? And hopefully you had an opportunity to read it. And again, it just says that there are no foreigners that were supposed to be west of the Appalachian Mountains, that they were all supposed to be east of the Appalachian Mountains, and they were supposed to stay there. No foreigners. And that's what made the Louisiana Purchase so. Islam, Empress.
So our heirs and I did a great deal of study on this Royal Proclamation, a great exploration in allodial title, a lot of what this was showing us about, how the land was connected, and in fact, what were the key points on the land which will release, all the energy for all the Moors. And so that was an excellent piece of erudition. So gratitude.
You're fucking the kids up.
Indeed.
You're fucking up.
Indeed. It also showed that there were regions that were being governed, not states, but regions, whole territories being governed. So the boundaries were different then, and those boundaries still exist because we've restated, all that our ancestors put on the record.
Remember September.
So this proclamation is quite the study. It's quite the study.
Islam, gratitude, nature.
Islam. And how the land is governed and manifested is up to us completely and totally. Because in reality, in the Biblios, there were some parts in the Biblios that say that we emptied the land of all foreigners and they were out of here. All foreigners were out. Then there are other times where we would allow certain ones to stay and, do whatever they did. The Prophet Noble Jew Ali talked about a certain small, less than 10% percentage of them staying and doing some farming because he said he loved beans and peas and things of that nature. It's completely up to us as to who stays on the land and who goes is up to us completely. Islam.
You was the slaves, and that's the truth. That's the.
Are you able to put the that particular link in the chat? That's right up under Pyramids at America.
Oh yes. This is a kind of a side note, but not really a side note because it oh wow, it just, there are pyramids at every territory, and this was showing from one territory to the next the different pyramids. It just was showing all across our land. We've been here. Everyone knows we've been here. And so again, it's up to us. If we will to have foreigners on the land, they can be on the land in their proper status, doing whatever it is that we state is allowable for them to do. Nobility, what was that?
I'm sorry, I was just talking all out.
Yes, you were. The ones that stay, though, they must. And here's the thing, we don't have to worry about them usurping or any of that. As long as we keep passing this knowledge and information on, we will never have to worry about usurpation, ever. Because it was all about the only way they were doing anything was using all capital letters. And those are under our authority.
Quick question.
Mm-hmm.
Will we at some point reduce their number, the foreigners, how many we have on the land at this particular time?
So we agreed back in the 1700s even, and again in the 1600s, we agreed that there would only be a certain percentage of them on our land. We agreed to that. And so because they know that, we didn't even have to tell them to start leaving. They already started leaving. That's why there's so much real estate and everything available for us. A lot of stuff available for us because they knew, and see, the one that was previously acting as Pope told them in 2015, because he wasn't talking to us, he was talking to them, that it's time to start leaving, time to start getting off the land of the original people. He told them then. So they started jumping ship. Even before then, they started jumping ship.
Islam.
Yeah. And there is a certain percentage of them that was supposed to be here. During the capitalism piece, even one of them would have 150 persons. And by persons, I mean shell corporations. And they were counting that as a person. They were counting it in their populations. That's what gave them, in their enactment, a claim of being the majority. Is because if one of them had 150 shell corporations, they were counted as 151 people in all capital letters in black ink. And so then they would say, well, it's more of us than it is of you all. And in their enactment, they were the majority in their enactment, but not in reality. Never in reality. Islam, Empress.
That's why they needed Roe versus Wade.
And all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And in Roe versus Wade, they specifically mentioned that this is not for blacks. They said it wasn't for blacks. But then they they were talking about themselves. Because they know they're black. There are a lot of movies out there from the 40s and 50s and 60s during the quote-unquote gangster times, the gangster enactments, where they call themselves blackies like it's no big deal. I was like, oh, okay. I guess we were the only ones that didn't know. They knew they were blackies. So, Roe versus Wade and all of that stuff, all of that was a distraction. That was to keep us looking in that direction, instead of minding our business. Because, see, all we have to do is mind our business. We don't even have to worry about them. They already know what to do because we gave them instructions before we even went to sleep. We told them this is what you do. As we start waking up, you do this, this, and this, and a lot of y'all got to leave because you're corpses and corporations, and you're never going to be anything other than that for a lot of them. Because again, like we stated, if Bill Gates had 10 companies and 150 derivatives from those corporations rather, then that was counted as 300 or 400 persons in their census. And then you would never see any of us in that previous enactment. None of us had that many corporations. So it made it look like it was a few of us and they were everywhere, when that was absolutely not the reality. It never was. We are the majority. We always have been and always will be. Article 1, Section 10, Clause 1. Is that the Constitution you're referring to, nobility? Article 1, Section 10, Clause 1? Islam. Indeed. Islam, nobility. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, so are there any other questions, comments, wisdom from this amazing Congress? Where do we go from here? This is what we're doing from this point forward as well. And if you're not here yet, don't worry about it. Just keep minding your business, meaning putting your affidavits out there, and anytime the Spirit leads you to do something, do it, and keep moving. We're all one, and we're all moving at the same direction. So what we're doing from this point is continuing to manifest our mercantilism. That's one of the things we're doing. Another thing that we're doing is just continuing to look at the estate and govern the estate accordingly, because what we're doing now is giving legs to the things that we've put on the record. That means physical actions of going out at the territories and beginning to look back at what we've done, and then continue speaking the law. However you're led to do that, and we'll show you some of the ways that we're led to do it too. So again, if you will to manifest anything that we've manifested thus far, we will continue to show you how we have the ability to correct all systems, because all systems are under our authority. Now, that correction from the subjects in the office of Equifax, that correction is that process is the very same process that we used to correct anything that was previously pretending to be a war rant, a court appearance, a crime, or any of that stuff. We use the same process, and we use our courts to correct that mess and make it manifest like it should. Same process. All systems are under our authority. So if you're having issues with fake courts and debt and all of that stuff, let's just keep moving in this direction. You know, keep that capitalism suspended. Keep it suspended. And that being, we're not using it either for you know. And then we just let the Spirit lead us as things come up, you know, as papers and things present. We just let the Spirit lead us on how to deal with it. That's what we've been doing. Islam. Any questions, comments, wisdom from this amazing Congress, this Council for the Gods?
Islam,
Empress.
I want to share something that I noticed in the funny mirror, in the enactment. So apparently in the funny mirror, on the 26th of March, subject in the office of Marco Rubio was here. I'm putting everything in inverted commas and funny mirror. The thing I noticed were the banners. So the banner behind and to the side of subject in the office of Rubio had the gold fringe on it. And the banner, which was the first time I was seeing that here, behind subject in the office of Prime Minister here, Holness, had a gold fringe on it. Now, I know that they're done their subjects and everything else. I do know that the gold fringe in the funny mirror was representing wartime.
Yes.
And so I was watching this.
For them, yes.
For them, exactly. And that was the thing. So I noticed it. To be honest, the people have had conversations with weren't even aware that the gold trim had that meaning. As I was watching it myself after the fact and seeing it, what I realized, or in my mind, that yes, they're warring in their enactment, in their funny mirror, against themselves.
Yes. Yes.
And I just, you know, it made me just aware of how much I've learned.
Yes.
How much I've remembered, how much, you know, just how much I know.
Yeah. See, they don't have a quarrel with us.
They can't. Exactly. They're subjects. They're doing as told.
They're actors.
They're active. Right. They have a script and they have props.
Yes. All of that that's all that is. That's all it is. And that's going away. See, the fiat was a prop too.
Well, all of it was a prop, was it not? Exactly.
Yes.
And a prop is part of the word property.
Yes.
But it don't have the end. You know, it doesn't have missing a syllable. But missing two syllables. But
and see, that's their, you know, war is their exit strategy.
Now that, absolutely.
War is the exit strategy. And our job is to mind our own business while they do that.
While they do that. I mean, I do pop my eye in and see what's going on at the theater because, you know, it's happening.
Yeah, yeah.
It's happening in the illusion of on the land because it's really not, but they're subjects. So, but I do, all of this was for them.
Yes. All we have to do is keep doing what we're doing and keep our eyes focused on us. And yeah, we look at that for entertainment. See, for some people, for some who are not awake, all that is bread and circuses. It's bread and circuses.
It's amusement. And did you know amusement, a diversion, is for the purpose of diverting attention?
Yes.
That's what amusement is.
Yes. The root word being mused.
Muse. Right.
Muse is somebody who agrees to have somebody else live through them.
Vicariously, yes.
Vicariously through them. That's what the word music comes from, is when people get up and start dancing to music, they are having whoever created the music is living vicariously through them.
Yes, their spirit is
yes.
It has jumps into the one who's feeling it, and yes.
Or surrounded, or surrounded them.
That's because music is everywhere. Music is in the air, the ether, the everything. I mean, it's within. And this is why the music, the tuning frequencies were changed.
Yeah.
Because music originally at 432 hertz, I do believe, because that's now when you add up those, was changed to 440.
Yeah.
Because it's not in tune and harmonic to natural frequencies.
Yes, and 432 megahertz is the natural frequency.
9. If you add up those numerals, it adds up to 9. Which and so when you think about music, music is a beautiful thing. Music is sound. It's if that is distorted and corrupted, our natural being is to get into harmony with whatever frequencies are around us. So wherever you are, is So by changing the music and that frequency, it creates a distortion. So one has to work harder, if you're not aware, to stay in equilibrium and balance and harmony. Yeah. So it wasn't an accidental thing for them when they enacted changing the tuning frequency for music.
Yeah.
Music was medicine also. Originally, music, the whole purpose of music and was not amusement in that diversionary, but it's a healing, because every frequency, every sound is healing as well.
And even the root word of music is use.
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 Use. Yes.
Amusement. Amusement. Yes. And then sometimes an artist will say, "Will you be my muse?" And because they want you to stand there, and then they paint you or do a sculpture of you, and those who view the sculpture see them through the eyes of the artist. So that's why music was so important, even in the Biblios and even to us naturally, music was used.
Because we are music. I mean, rhythm, music is rhythm, melody, all of those things, and beats, the heartbeat, the breath thing is, and even the sound of the language. It is said, that English, the commercial English, is the most disharmonic language out there.
Wow, I hadn't heard that, but it makes complete sense. Being a dead language.
Being right, and it's pieces and pieces of all other languages. It was created for commercial purposes.
It's fragments of all.
Fragments.
Yeah. Fracture. Yes, that's a great word, Empress. Fracture. It's fractured.
Fractured, and that's really put back together to.
Yes.
And so it's at the root of everything.
Of jurisdiction, even.
It is, because the sound, well, jurisdiction, what is that? The right word. I mean,
yes,
the right.
yes,
And the dead cannot make, well, they cannot make sound anyway, but whatever they bring forth, just their frequency, their vibration, which everything is distorted.
yeah, yeah. Amusement. Mm.
Amusement, diversion, that's sport. I mean, all of those gatherings of people, entertainment. Remember, the theater in the beginning was to keep they gave them, you said it earlier, you stated it earlier, bread and circus. Get everybody in the amphitheater, and everybody, these plays and these different things, to keep all that energy in that space, and everyone is distracted, diverted, entertained, fat and happy.
Yep.
Was for a purpose.
Yes. Meanwhile, all this other stuff about any property that they own, that they thought they owned, and all that stuff is going on over their heads.
Right. It's, I mean, that whole thing has been, we've been viewing this while it's been going on, as we've been doing the work to bring about these changes. That has been going on for many people are in that, being distracted by this, that, and the other that's going on, and
yeah.
But as you stated, it has come to an end. It just has to play out now.
Yeah.
Lots of the audience is leaving. Yeah.
And I'll say this: as more of us stop looking in that thing on a, as much as we used to, because we used to literally almost live in the funny mirror, so to speak, in the enactment.
Yeah.
And now that we're out and doing what we're doing and not being drawn back into it, it has to go away.
It
has to go away.
That is now. Well, let me not even say that. I was going to say, I mean, I haven't had a television for donkey's years and stuff like that, but it's really something I have to make a concerted effort to even peek in there. But like I said, I do peek in there just to see everyone.
Yes.
But because once you know, it really is the fiction. It really is.
Yeah.
The like how they would make movies to show what they're doing or what they were enacting and all of those sorts of things. That's now the movie. That's the movie, the real movie, the real fiction. It's all up and down, but yeah.
Empress, as we have that discussion, I'm reminded of in 1971 when the actor acting as Nixon supposedly removed the fiat from the gold system and all of that. All the Moors had to do was just keep focused on this, on what we're doing. Just keep focused on that. Don't listen to anything coming from them in terms of thinking that they're talking to you. I can watch it, and you and I and we all can look in the funny mirror because we know they're not talking to us no matter what.
Exactly right.
And it gives us, for me, it gives me sort of a gauge of where we are, sort of.
Yeah.
And knowing that that all are under our sovereign authority, but if in 1971 the Moors would have just stayed focused on what they're doing and keep trading in gold and silver,
it would have,
they would have had to stop doing what they were doing. They would have had to stop acting like that.
They'd have had to do then what they're doing, what is being done
now.
Yeah.
Islam, Empress.
Islam. During that time we were marching and doing all that kind of stuff, which says that they used sleeping Moors to assist in them doing what they're doing, because we were trying to find peace and comply and all that kind of stuff. And if we would have had a voice that said, let's keep doing what we're doing, we would have did it, I think. But we had different kind of influences at that time that looked like us, and, and so we went for it.
Yeah. See, they had Martin Luther King and all of those types of actors, and then, and we thought, well, we shall overcome with him because he's the leader and blah, blah, blah. That's what people were thinking back then. But that it cannot continue. It just cannot continue because there's nothing to continue with.
But that's long over now. I mean, look who's marching now.
Yeah. And that's why I'm saying everything has done what it's supposed to do. All the laws we put on the public record, everyone knows them, and they're complying like they should.
That's it. It's every time I hear the word leader, so there's a form of music, a genre of music, the German Lieder, which is an art song, German art song. And every time I hear the word leader, knowing what I know now, I think of the German art song. It's for entertainment, for amusement. And so everybody's looking for a leader in a mass.
Yeah.
When in fact, you're really just looking for entertainment.
Yeah. Yeah.
But even Marcus Garvey was being a leader, but for the other, to a certain degree, for the other side also in the enactment. So that's been the issue, looking to leaders when a sovereign stands and leads oneself. Yeah.
He might have just had a certain amount of incompetence also, and not knowing that that's what he was doing, because that's something that I see sometimes in the movement, the Moorish Divine and National Movement for the world, is that the majority do not have an ulterior motive of wickedness and evil. They're not deliberately trying to mislead people, but in some instances they don't see any other way to do things, so they revert back to the quote-unquote citizen way of doing things, the subject's way of doing things, and things like that.
I think also in those, I think you're right there, and I think also there's entanglement and from about which oftentimes they're entrapment, those types of things. So yeah, this is not it's not a straight, it's the crooked way. Now it's straight, now that we're coming straight. But I don't think that every move and everyone is, as you state, wicked.
Yeah, some just genuinely do not know. And for each and every one of us, when we clear our energy, the ancestors will get us past those points where we, they'll get us past them.
Yeah.
All we have to do is clear the energy.
Clear and even those that maybe got hiccuped and tripped up and all of those other things, still there was progress, knowledge, and movement and shifting accomplished.
Yeah.
And that can't be dismissed.
Yeah. True.
But the journey of life.
Yes. So at this point, where we are in this whole movement is we're beginning to, of course we've been going at the territory and demonstrating who we are and all of that. This is a new way, not a new way, but a more, it's a definitely peaceful, competent way to begin moving out onto the land and claiming and proclaiming all that we will. This is that time where we start moving out onto the land. And many of us have claimed things and claimed buildings and structures and things like that. Now is the time to do that competently. Go back and look at what you did previously as far as claiming, structures and domiciles and things. But see, we have to keep in mind that our national and empirical and empire infrastructure is far more important than anything else. And the reason we are saying that is because it is far more profitable for us to have a government building at the territory before people start moving into domiciles and things like that. It's actually more beneficial for all of us to have a government building at the territories. And again, this whole thing, the whole earth is the head. All the land belongs to us. So having head buildings and structures, head government buildings and structures at the territories is, we already have them, by the way. Wherever you are right now, that's a government building when you're there. So we're not doing anything that we can't do. We're already doing it. All we're doing now is expanding what we've been doing. That's all we're doing. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. Just expand what we've been doing. That's it. And then decide. See, most of us have decided this already. We've already decided that we're not actors and we're not going to be acting out things because we don't have to act. This is our land. Let's just go ahead and move forward with everything that we're doing. And it works. It works like a charm. So that's what we're doing now as a nation and as the empire is going ahead and manifesting the estate. Starting first with the most important, which is our national infrastructure. That will work a lot better, quicker, smoother, more peacefully than everybody trying to go out and get a domicile, and we know people, that's something that people will to have. Your domicile will be a lot more peacefully obtained and easily obtained when your government structure is there. Like it already is, kind of, sort of. I mean, since we woke up, this has been the consulate, it's been the government building, it's been, the courts for us, and all of that. So again, more of the same, just other places, because it's expansion time, So with that being stated, we will go ahead and adjourn until Sunday at 6 post meridian. And if there be nothing further, may your way be easy. May all that you do prosper, prosper, prosper. May these next 7 days be so abundant that you just don't have room for all that comes to you. Peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine heirs. Islam.
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 Peace,
love, peace, and success.
Peace and love, and thank you.
Indeed. Islam.
Islam. Peace and love.
Islam.
Islam, peace and love.
Islam. And if anyone speaks to Empress, why not? If anyone speaks to Empress, why not? Would you please let her know that I still need her information in terms of her driver license, a photo, and all of that. We still need that from her. And we also thank Empress Gwen Denise Walker Bay for her donation that she sent in Delarium, which we absolutely adore and appreciate. And we also thank The noble that sent us the camphor leaves. And I'm going to have to go back and look and see who that was. But we appreciate all that's being sent to us as well. And we're getting the salt out as quickly as we possibly can. Islam. Peace and grand rising.
Peace and grand rising.
Islam.
Peace and grand rising.
Oh, grand rising, Justice Anthony.
No flavor and respecting.
Islam. Same to you, nobility. And we will disconnect, not disconnect. We will pause this platform until Sunday in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Islam.
Peace and grand rising. Islam.